Hey, Stu.
Tom.
Tactical Fitness Report with Stu Smith, Podcast 7. This one's personal marker, Stu. Personal marker.
All right.
So you wrote an article, military.com and all the other sources, on the subject of personal marker. And this is a question of how do you measure your capability, or why do you work out? What's your standard? And you got some incredible response to this. So I thought what we do is go through and discuss a group of them. You summarized them down to about 10. And the first one was the classic PT pyramid.
Right. You know, the way I get a lot of my ideas for writing is by posting questions up on my social media feeds. You know, Stu Smith Fitness. I have a tactical fitness site that's on Instagram as well, Twitter. And I'll post these questions up, and I get some great ideas and great answers, especially when I'm looking for something like this, that it all varies. The answers, I have 10 different reasons, or risks, a list of what people do to personally check out their fitness levels. How are they assessing their abilities, right? And you mentioned why we train, and I think that's a little different from what this article talks about, because you all have a why we train, whether that's to get better at your job, for athletics, just look good naked, whatever those reasons are, that's your why. But this one is specifically about what workouts do you do, or what tests do you use to assess your abilities. And those abilities vary in, everything from, you're a firefighter, or you're a civilian who just wants to be fit and be able to do things.
Yep.
Right.
Just so everybody knows that you're in the field this morning. And those are friendlies that are driving by in the background. I just want everybody to understand that.
Yeah. I'm actually in a baseball park. I can't act too cool. Right. My son's at baseball practice, and I got 2 hours to kill, and I'm sitting here watching him play baseball. And I wanted to test out this revolutionary product we have in our hands. That's the iPhone 7, right? And this great wireless recording system we're using with Zoom. It's phenomenal. I mean, it's turning life, into such an easy communications ability that it's unbelievable. So, I don't want to digress too much on, how revolutionary a product this is, but let's go right into the top 10 list of what are your measures for your capability.
Yeah. So the first one, Stu, was the classic PT pyramid. So spend a minute on that one.
Yeah. If anybody's ever read my articles or purchased a book of mine, you will see the PT pyramid, because it is a classic method of producing results for physical fitness tests with push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups, those type of exercises. So it's a calisthenic pyramid. All it is, the first step is 1 pull-up, 2 push-ups, 3 sit-ups. The next step is 2, 4, 6, 3, 6, 9. 5, 10, 15. So that's the way it works. As you go up the pyramid, and a good way of assessing yourself is, when do you fail? Because the great thing about a pyramid is the first few sets are a warm-up, but then there comes a time when you start to fail, and that's your max. And then you come back down the other side of the pyramid, and that's your cool down. So it's a perfect workout, in my opinion. And it's a great way to just assess where you are on the, PT scale.
And in all of these things, Stu, you have more information, not only within this article, but also in all of your writings on all these topics. You go really deeply, even just in your articles, much less your books.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. In fact, if you read the article on this one, and I can't remember the titles perfectly, but I'll write it in the description. and link it. But all these events that we're going to talk about today actually have hyperlinks to them that will fully explain it for you and give you not just one option, but several options per event.
And Stu, the second one was the 1,000-pound club, and this was not that you strive to raise your personal weight to 1,000 pounds.
Yeah, no, this is pretty much an old school thing. I remember some of the first goals I've ever had were, trying to get 3 lifts into 1,000-pound range. So those 3 lifts are bench press, squats, and deadlifts, right? If you can put those 3 into a max 1 rep workout, and then the totals are in the 1,000 and plus pounds, you're in the 1,000-pound club. And it's a very good assessment of your strength and to be able to push advanced levels of weight.
So I had misread that one about 3 months ago, Stu, and I was heading in the wrong direction. So I'm working on that. So events is your third one, and this is the Tough Mudder, the Spartan, the Go Rucks, those sorts of things. They're really tremendous. I think they're tremendous events.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, you can sign up for one of these things several months in advance and give yourself a great way to prepare for something that's coming in the near future. A lot of us need, something to train for. It's fun. You do it with a team. It's motivating because you pass people along the way. Get to know people, you meet new people. I mean, these things are fun. They're fun, very challenging physical events. And if you can do any of these things, I would say you have a pretty good assessment of your fitness level and abilities by being able to finish any of these things, especially, Go Ruck challenges or, the long Spartan obstacle course races. Yeah. Because I tell you what, most of those Spartan races are done on a ski slope. At least some of the very advanced ones are. And by the way, all of these top 10 lists, I would consider very advanced levels of assessment, right? And I don't think that everybody needs to be, starting off with some of these top 10 goals. I mean, everything is a progression, right? And maybe, 1,000-pound club might not be perfect for you, but a 500-pound club would be a very good way to push your levels to the next level. And, so anyway, these are rather advanced top 10 list here.
Yeah. I know this. My son Kenny does the Spartans and he does the Beast, which they do Killington and all that sort of thing. And it's not just a physical challenge. It gets into being mentally challenging when you start to do that because of the conditions, not only just the fitness levels, but the conditions. It's cold. They are wet a lot. So it's good stuff, and I know that's just one event. There are many others that are similar. Stu, you had another one called the Random Gut Check.
Yeah, the Random Gut Check is it can be a pretty big challenge for you, especially if you're stupid about it, right? And you have somebody who might be a runner and you're not, and you both sign up for a half marathon or even a marathon. Yeah. And you're not quite ready for it physically. So once again, it becomes a very mental challenge to actually endure, those type of gut checks. But, I've always found that, something once a month, whether it be a hard workout or some kind of hard fitness assessment is a fun event. The Random Gut Check term I learned when I was, at a SEAL team, where there would be these random gut checks for, a whole SEAL team to one day show up on a Friday and realize they are about to go run a marathon. Today's gut check, we called it payday PT. If payday was on a Friday. Yeah. Now, the thing about those random gut checks is you would do those for 3 or 4 hours, and then you would get nothing else done the rest of the day because you're wiped out. So they kind of faded away once people got a little smarter about it. But, there's nothing wrong with those type of things as long as you don't hurt yourself.
Yeah.
And sometimes gut checks are, that fine line between building mental toughness and pushing through stupidity. There's, it's a fine line. There's a fine line there. And I think in a future podcast, we're going to talk about mental toughness, and balancing that fine line between mental toughness and stupidity is a challenge, and it takes some creative balance.
Yeah, it certainly does. Stu, another one was fighting and moving. That's, as you know, my favorite of these. But fighting and moving as a check of your capability.
Yeah, adding in some sort of fighting set into your workout I found to be a very useful tool, especially if you are focused on having a self-defense or being in a profession where your fighting skills matter, whether you're taking down a bad guy or whatever, or you're actually a boxer or MMA fighter, those type of things. Obviously, you're going to be practicing those things. But if that's where you kind of cut your teeth in fitness, you were a competitive fighter or, boxer, MMA fighter, anything like that, wrestler, sometimes that's just what you kind of like doing.
Yeah.
For me, I grew up lifting heavy weights, so I enjoy the 1,000-pound club. After decades of doing a lot of PT, I also enjoy the PT pyramid. You enjoy, mixing in, some heavy bag work with your, push-ups and pull-ups, as well as, throwing in your backyard range, throwing in some shooting while your arms are, tired. Those are great ways to, keep your fighting skills up. And, that is a what. We always talk about whys we work out, but that is a great what to doing something to truly assess where you feel you are on the spectrum of being able to defend yourself or not.
Yeah, absolutely. Just living and doing physical things. When I gave this list to Kenny, that was his number one list. Number one on the list was just living and doing physical things.
I think that's a great attitude. You be able to go do anything that you want to do, whether that is a weekend of skiing or once again, one of those random gut checks and, go do a Spartan race for fun. What else? Helping your neighbor move furniture from one house to another. Or yard work. Those things, if you're not ready for that, they can be really debilitating. You don't want to go help somebody move their house and then call in sick the next day because you can't move anything or you blew out your back. Those things, happen all the time, and you want to be able to function normally after being able to do very physical things. I think that's a great reason or what we do to train.
Yeah, the combination cardio and strength standards was another one that was really interesting.
Oh, absolutely. I have found, and many people who sent this one in love to do multiple cardio events like triathlons or long races, but they balance it out. And this is very smart because sometimes if you're a cardio guy, your strength is a weakness. Or sometimes if you're a strength guy, your cardio is a weakness. So adding the two together and mixing in, a triathlon with maybe, a portion of the 1,000-pound club or maybe the PT pyramid, all in a grouped assessment, is a great way to just make sure that you are starting to balance out the elements of fitness and not having a weakness exposed when you least expect it.
Yeah, for sure. Open water events.
Yeah, this is usually guys that probably grew up swimming, were competitive swimmers, like to do triathlons. Sometimes just getting in the open water and being by yourself and pushing hard in the water kind of takes you back to those days when you were staring at that black line for hours when you were a competitive swimmer in a pool. But at the same time, a little bit more real world, right? Yeah. So you can take this into the real world and nature, and challenge nature a little bit too. So I think having that in your abilities is a great confidence builder.
I remember one point when my son was young and I was trying to teach him how to swim, and I took him out down to Puerto Rico, and we swam from one small island to another, and across the channel, and the combination of current, wind, and water depth, and the water being so clear, that was a challenge for a 9-year-old boy.
Yeah, I would say that's a hell of a challenge. But those type of things make you comfortable in the water, and a lot of times, and we're going to talk about this, in a future podcast, but being, comfortable being uncomfortable, is a great skill to be able to have. And, open water events are definitely sometimes can be very uncomfortable.
Oh man. Stu, that we are going to have to do a podcast directly on that, because that saying, since I've heard it, is one of the great sayings of all time. Comfortable being uncomfortable.
Right.
Military.
So next one, military fitness test. This is the classic. If you have ever served or you want some form of assessment that people use around the world, the military fitness test is a great way to just see where you stand up, right? I'm 47 now. I still do the BUDS fitness test as my marker. I love it. I take it with guys. In fact, we even do double PSTs just to make it harder, right? And so, 500-yard swim, pull-up, push-up, sit-ups, mile-and-a-half run, love doing those. And as long as I can stay in the passing and competitive zone, I'm very happy, right? Very happy. So
I imagine that'll be for a good while yet, Stu. The final one was mental toughness and resilience for real life stress.
Yeah, I mean, I think, making your workouts challenging and uncomfortable, whether it's any one of these random top 10 or, something specific that you have developed, that's not going to hurt you, I think is a vital skill that we can all have when things get really stressful. I'm talking about life and death stress situations. And this guy who wrote number 10 for me is a guy by the name of Justin Legg, who is a double lung transplant, cancer survivor, former Navy SEAL, super guy, does great things within the community and with, getting people to be organ donors and things like that. And, so one of his statements was, his workouts, he tries to make his workouts uncomfortable. So when he gets tested with some kind of lung infection that he has to go into the, ICU, in the hospital, for a couple of days, and he can barely breathe, but he has to relax and get through it so the doctors can figure it out. Being comfortable, being uncomfortable is, a great definition of mental toughness.
Yeah, that is for sure. Was he at the academy with you, Stu? Was he a student of yours at one point?
Yes. I was back as an instructor, and he was in one of the classes that went to SEAL training that I pre-trained.
Yeah, that's an incredible test. That is an incredible test. So, Stu, what would you recommend for somebody who hasn't taken one of these things up as their challenge? What would you recommend that they do to sort through which one to start trying with?
I like to always go back to what your foundation is and do two things. One, what is your foundation of fitness? For me, powerlifting, weight training, I can always go into the gym, put together 1,000-pound club combination workout and strive for that pretty easily. Doesn't require a whole lot of thought, some effort, not a whole lot of thought. However, you also want to pick something that maybe you're not very good at, right? And turn a weakness into more of a strength. So for me, doing calisthenics and running long distance was a very hard challenge. However, over the years, I've been able to kind of transition out of that where it's less of a weakness now and more of a strength. But something like open water swims for me, very challenging, especially if the water's crappy looking. In fact, after I got out of the Navy, I have 3 criteria now for scuba diving. I have 3 criteria. Want to hear my 3 criteria for scuba diving?
I have not heard these. I want to hear them.
1, it has to be daylight.
Okay.
2, has to be water warm enough to where I won't even need a wetsuit.
Okay.
And 3, it has to be near 100-foot visibility.
I'm surprised you actually still do it, man. That's awesome.
No, I've been scuba diving in Hawaii and the Bahamas, Key West. That's fine, since I've been out of the Navy. But going scuba diving and I'm cold and I can't see anything. What's the point? I don't have a point anymore. That's the civilian look at scuba diving.
Yeah, exactly. And this is coming from a guy whose squad was a basically water focused, right? I mean,
yes, absolutely. I'm tired of cold, dark, murky water.
All right, man. So, how do we get people involved in doing some of this stuff? What's going on?
Well, you know what? That's a good question because I have events every quarter here in Maryland. In fact, you can even do them virtually if you want. In fact, they're called the Special Ops Triathlon, which are a lot of fun. We swim with fins, we backpack, and we run. So it's a run, swim, ruck instead of a run, swim, bike. Sometimes we'll throw in a mystery PT in there just for fun, like a Devil's Mile, or try to do a Murph in between some of these events or something.
Just for fun.
just to make it hard. But we do have really cool patches that go with it. In fact, we got these Heroes of Tomorrow.
Hey, I've not seen those. That's really cool.
Like that. And then I also have one that I still have probably about 50 of these left because it's such a hard challenge that I let people, if they didn't bring a backpack and they want to really push themselves instead of just running twice, is I do something called the Fireman Carry 5K with them, right? So they have a partner, right? And they get this patch along with it. So it's a double patch. So if them and their partner can do a 5K, trading off, carrying each other like a fireman carry, right?
That is awesome.
They get that special patch. Now, that is a butt kicker of a workout, and you want to make sure you want to have a strong back before you do that because that's a tough one. I even wore like a little back support when I did mine because it was brutal. And it's one of those things you probably don't want to do a second time ever again.
And you want to be very careful picking your partners, Stu.
Yes. You definitely want lightweight partners that are, definitely similar to your body weight. Otherwise, it's not going to work.
Yep, not going to work. All right, buddy. Well, that's all the time we've got today. This was the Tactical Fitness Report with Stu Smith, podcast number 7, Personal Marker. All right, pal. Later.
All right. Thank you.